Welcome to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
And welcome. We are Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Gregory and Clark, attorneys at law, right here in the Orlando area. And we're taking your calls right now at 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696. Those of you at home watching on television, welcome. And the office number right now to call is 321-282-1055. That's 321-282-1055. As you can see, we have a studio full of people today. On your far right, of course, if you're watching on TV, that's Justin Clark, attorney at law and host of this fine show week to week. Also with us today is Lee Hunish, and he is here as a very special guest, an expert witness, if you will, since this is a law show. And so we brought him in here for his expertise. He has passed with the bar, and he's got his expertise down, and we know that he's going to be bringing us some valuable information for radio and for television. 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. And Justin, what's on the docket today, bud?
Happy weekend to you, as always, pal.
Happy weekend to you. You got the haircut. You got the summer look. You're looking good.
It's 110 degrees outside every day at 9 p.m. still. I figured it was time to give a little shave to the head. You know what I mean? It'll grow back.
You look very good, sir.
And Lee might have passed through a few bar rooms before, but he has not passed the bar. He's not a lawyer. Lee is...
No, he's an expert.
Okay.
Expert witness.
I'm so happy to have him here because Lee was one of the first guys to ever do short sales nationwide. He's flown all the way in from Los Angeles for a special seminar that he's hosting later this week, which we'll certainly talk about later. But here's the real reason I wanted Lee here. Guess who he was working for doing short sales? The bank. We got a little inside bank information.
Again this week?
Coming to you for the next hour. I'm so excited. Lee, welcome to the program.
Oh, guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't actually been in a nice studio in so long. It's a pleasure to be here.
And when do you think we'll do that? Just kidding.
You are spoiled in this studio. You don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. Come on. No, this is a good group.
Yeah, I am the former head loss mitigator for IndyMac Bank's HELOC division. I've got 22 years experience as an asset manager. I did some of the first short sale mitigation on the bank's end. 2007, I taught the very first short sale classes to real estate professionals. Since then, I think it's 600 or 700 seminars on the subject of short sales and loan modifications all over the country.
First question I have right off the bat. A lot of people who are in their car listening right now or at home watching on TV are going to say, I had IndyMac, and then all of a sudden I saw IndyMac / One West. Explain that to me.
Okay, back approximately late 2007, there was, I'm not going to get into the semantics of the politics of how it went down. There was a senator, as I recall, who made some inflammatory comments about the stability of IndyMac Bank, which caused a run. For those of you who don't know, banks don't actually carry their full level of assets. What's that mean in English? The banks carry only a percentage. The Fed only requires them to carry a percentage of what they lend out or what they should have. So if you put $100 in the bank, they're only required to carry a reserve of 10%. So when a run occurs, which we've seen happen historically since 1988, we had Crocker, we had First Interstate. When that run occurs where people get scared and they want their money back, banks go out of business, and it's simple as that. And that literally happened to IndyMac. I went by one day, and there was a big long line of people because somebody made a few inflammatory comments, and I'm not here to judge the legality of that. True asset manager. Always hedge your bets.
Right.
That's what happened. And there was a big long line. People went in to go get their money and put a bank out of business. And it got picked up immediately by a conglomerate that included, allegedly, the same senator, Michael Dell of Dell Computers, I believe. It was a weird conglomeration of people, and I'm not, again, allegedly, I have no idea. I don't want any legal suits against me with an attorney here next to me. That's the way it looked on paper, that there were people who wanted that bank. Things were said. Politics were done. IndyMac is no more.
Let me ask you this, too. So Obviously, there are a lot of people in Florida or your state of California, although I hear California is coming back a little bit. That's the rumor we hear. But Florida is still in a bad spot with a lot of homes in foreclosure or in some stage of default. And I have a lot of people come into my office and say, Justin, this bank, they really messed with me, and I want to get my house for free. And the first thing I say is, you're at the wrong law firm. We don't get houses for free at my place of business. However, it seems like if someone's in default, you have one of two options to try to work something out with the bank. It's a loan modification or a short sale to start with.
Basically.
What are some of the benefits of short sale for the bank's perspective and the homeowner's perspective?
There are additional, I mean, we could go through the long list. You can do a deed in lieu. You can do, there are multiple bankruptcy. I'm not going to shy away from all those things. Here's the thing. It's funny because we were at the Florida Association of Realtors show, and what I discovered was nobody was talking about short sales. Nobody was talking about short sales at that event, and I was actually pretty shocked by it. There was also no marketing for people that were in default as well. So I ran on RealtyTrack. For those of you who don't know what that is, RealtyTrack is just a data provider. I ran the number of less penances and severely delinquent homeowners. There were over 8,000 people in the city of Orlando alone. God. And that's greater than 90 days delinquent. And so to say that the phenomenon, it boggles my imagination that people honestly believe that by missing payments, somehow they are entitled to get their house for free. I'm a banker. I'm telling you this straight up. Your first phone call shouldn't be to the bank. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. That's the equivalent of there is no equivalent. Why would you call somebody you owe money to and tell them you don't have the ability to pay? Oh, by the way, would you modify me?
We're going to take a break right now, but you can get legal advice by calling Justin's office at 321-282-1055. That's 321-282-1055. Associates are standing by. We'll be right back.
The perception of the real estate market is based on real estate agents. They don't like short sales. They don't like loan mods. They don't like working with homeowners.
Stay tuned. Justin Clark will be right back with more Behind the Law. Welcome to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
Before we get back to short sales, let me discuss the loan modification scenario a little bit further with you because I think we all know that loan modifications are very difficult to do. And really, yes. A loan modification, and we've done thousands of them at my law firm, and a loan modification is not as much of a negotiation at the end with the bank. In my opinion, the negotiation happens all up front in the essentially underwriting of my client's financials before we send the entire packet to the bank to show that they fit into one of these loan modification categories. Do you think that statement's correct?
Yeah, it's fairly accurate. There are basically two types of loan mod. One is good and one is bad. I'll break it as simple as I can for homeowners, for those watching, for those listening. There are two types of loan mods. One is good and one is bad. The good one is when they do, a full rewrite of the terms where, and this is the thing that nobody gets. You couldn't make an interest-only payment before. Okay? Interest only. That's the lowest payment you can get on a house. Now you come to the bank and say, I want a loan modification. And let's say that all 8,000 of these people in Orlando that we know about, people listening to this show that are delinquent, you all get a loan mod. Here's the big fact. It's going to be 3 to 4% fixed, re-amortized for 30 to 40 years, which in English means you're going to have a higher payment. You couldn't pay what it was before, and now you got a higher payment by $200 or $300 or $400. How do you not go into default again? And why would a bank do it? Well, I got data, I got money, and I just pushed back the inevitable because it is a game. Maybe the market will increase, but with the interest rate the way it is, we've locked the market. And it's funny the way you opened up the show with, California's on the way back. I was at an event in California last 2 months ago where Wells Fargo said, Florida's back.
I
keep saying this. The perception of the real estate market is based on real estate agents. They don't like short sales. They don't like loan mods. They don't like working with homeowners. They've forgotten that meeting people face to face and going, what's your problem and how do I help you, instead of how do I sell to you?
Yeah. Let me explain a little bit about how we see loan modifications and what we've seen here in Florida especially. In 2006, obviously, you needed a pen and a pulse basically to get a mortgage. So all of my clients got a mortgage. They have 2 kids that walk to school. They love their house. They want to stay in their house. However, now their neighbor has done a short sale. So their new neighbor owes $100,000 on the house at a 3% interest rate, and my client owes $300,000 on the house and is at a 7% interest rate. So a lot of my clients, too, when the housing market declined, a lot of people work in construction in the state, and they literally lost their jobs or they lost half of their income and couldn't afford their payment. But now they're back on their feet. But they couldn't pay the mortgage because they simply had no income coming in, and they had to choose to feed their family instead of paying their mortgage payment. Now they're in some stage of foreclosure, but do want to keep the house. And on the other side of this break, I want you to tell me if the banks have any interest in helping my clients save their home, the ones who want to stay there.
All right, that's coming up during the break. If you want to chime in on the conversation, we have certainly a man here who has been in here as a pioneer, albeit on one side of the situation, but a pioneer in seeing how all this comes to fruition and really opening some eyes in Central Florida today with his comments, because he's putting it on the line for you folks. 855-297-9696. How do the financial institutions feel about you asking for a modification, and how is it working out on paying them back? Are people doing it? We'll find out. Now, we promised a very good friend of ours, and that is Robert Palmer of RP Funding, who can get you into a home with no fees and the lowest interest rates in the business, which means hopefully you can hold on to your home, you'll make the payments, and everything will be fine, and you won't have to listen to talks about short sales, foreclosures, and modifications. All right? Let's work it out that way. He has a new service. The service was put together by Robert Palmer himself and real estate professionals active in the Central Florida market. These are people who go out and set the price of the house you're going to sell or buy. All right? Now, Robert has a new line. He's paying all the expenses. And if you want to know what your house is worth today, with about a 17% increase in the average price of a home in the past 8 months in Central Florida, maybe you've got some equity. Maybe you didn't even know it. Call this number, 866-222-8231. That is the new home value helpline from RP Funding and our real estate community. That's 866-222-8231. Call that number. We'll be right back with more of Behind the Law with Justin Clark and our very special guest, all coming up right here.
Can I put those properties into a trust and protect them?
Absolutely.
And the banks can't touch those, can they?
Correct.
Then I'm going to do a short sale on the other properties, correct?
Correct.
Stay tuned. Justin Clark will be right back with more Behind the Law. Welcome to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
Now, Rand has a question for you, attorney, because he called last hour. Now, Rand, give us a Reader's Digest of your situation. You're back in a home. You're going to sell a home at a loss, and you're afraid they're going to come after your Florida property, which is your homestead. Well, let's go ahead, and you're going to ask these guys what's going to happen. What is that bank going to do? We've got a bank perspective who's right here. Tie you to the railroad track.
Yeah.
And then we've got Justin. Go ahead and give us your scenario, bud.
Okay, my wife first purchased a house back in 2007 in New York, which went into loan modification, which we defaulted on eventually. But in between that time, I purchased 2 homes in Florida cash. The house was so upside down in New York that we went to sell it, but we got no buyers. And so we got renters in there now. Just as the renters came in, the bank came and said, we're going to, the loan modification was through a bankruptcy, and they said they're defaulting the bankruptcy. They're overturning that. So I imagine the bank's right behind them with the foreclosure proceedings on the house there. But I own 2 houses here in Florida cash with her name on these homes in Florida. So I'm wondering, I have no idea what way to go, which way to turn.
Hi, Rand. This is Lee. Since I don't work for a bank, I'm going to help you out here.
Anymore.
Nor will they probably ever have me back.
Never.
So they're not in general. And again, why would they? Okay, so Justin, can I legally hide assets?
No. I mean, what do you mean? Can you
Well, okay, let's say, and here's what I'm kind of leading you to. Can I put those properties into a trust and protect them?
Absolutely.
And the banks can't touch those, can they?
Correct.
Then I'm going to do a short sale on the other properties, correct?
Correct.
Why aren't you calling the law office right now? There's a big plug for you.
Thanks very
Just
much.
like an expert from a bank. A bank can't touch anything inside of a trust no matter what they tell you. Okay? There are ways to legally protect your assets.
So the homes in Florida, which are outright cash buys, he can put in a trust.
Absolutely.
There are ways when you're doing a short sale, Rob.
Wow.
When you do a short sale on any home, it's not like a process where you just call the bank and say, "Hey, bank, I've got an offer. Is it cool? Can we just be done with this?" A short sale is a real process where we have to gather all of their financial documentation, and ideally you send it in one big stack all at once, and you have it perfectly underwritten to make it easy for the bank personnel to review it and see everything that they need to do, because they're really answering to someone else above them as well, whether it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever.
Absolutely.
And you have to you want to look a certain way. You don't want to look like a multimillionaire and then ask the bank to take a hit.
Why would you show a bank? And you love this one. This is one of my favorites. I've looked at literally thousands of files, and I've done thousands of negotiations on HELOCs with first and seconds, certainly on the bank's perspective. People who submit their entire tax return, when it clearly states we only want the first 2 pages, you tell a bank you have a 401k, you get what you get. Okay? Now, can I collect on it? Legally, no. Can I pressure you to give it to me? Of course I can. I'm not going to do this unless I get a cash contribution. That's why it's so imperative to have qualified people do the short sale or to help you or give you advice.
We're going to take a break right now, but you can get legal advice by calling Justin's office at 321-282-1055. That's 321-282-1055. Associates are standing by. We'll be right back.
I'm happy to talk about those things, but as of late, the thing that's really important is there's inventory out there.
Stay tuned. Justin Clark will be right back with more Behind the Law. Welcome to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, the show that takes you behind the law and answers your toughest legal questions.
If you'd like to call the office right now, they'll field your call at 321-282-1055. That's for off radio calls, 321-282-1055. And I understand that our very special guest, Lee, has a program coming up right here in Central Florida.
You know, I'm pretty excited about it because I'm going to be there speaking as well. I think Friday morning at 9 p.m. And in fact, Robert Palmer is going to be speaking Friday at 4 p.m. Lee, what are we speaking at?
It's called the Orlando Short Sale Summit. It's our third event. We started in Las Vegas. We started the short sale convention there back in March, and people said, well, you're not going to draw. Short sales are over. And we got a couple hundred people. Then 3 months later, we did it again in Anaheim. Well, it was too close to the first one. You're never going to get anybody to show up. We turned people away from that one. Now we're in Florida, and once again, real estate agents are under the mindset that short sales are over. It was a little slow. Now there are a few hundred registered at this moment.
Wow.
Yeah, I might have to do a little bit of work at the last
Lee,
minute.
you know, I was asking another program just the other day on this very same radio station. I said, you know, you would think that there are 0 foreclosures going on,
Right.
and 0 short sales, because all of a sudden the news in Orlando turned to a couple of high-profile trials,
Yep.
and nationally everybody is losing their mind over Egypt. So all of a sudden we're not talking about this anymore. The economy isn't talking about it. We're not talking about short sales. We had some home improvement and values, and if you ask the average man on the street and you said, hey, there's a short sale seminar coming up, and they'd go, oh, that's so last year. That's so yesterday's news.
Right.
We still got a crisis in Central Florida.
I literally
What did you say,
pulled
9,000?
8,000. Well, I only was able to pull up 8,000.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sure
sorry.
it was a greater number than that. But those are 8,000 people that are going to have only 2 options. You either cure it, okay, that means pay current or pay off, or modify it in some way, or you transfer the title back to the bank or to a new homeowner. So that's 8,000 people in the city of Orlando. So on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're doing our third one. It's the first time I've actually spoken in Florida in quite some time. If you're a real estate agent listening, or you're in this line of work, period, I don't care if you're an attorney, I don't care if you're a closer. I don't care what your line of work is. People are talking about no inventory. That's the big deal, right? My focus is, I know 8,000 people. How do I put you in front of 8,000 people? And then I'm going to put the experts up, just like you. And you guys go do what you do. Take away the short sale and the mystique of all the loan mods and all the short sale. I'm happy to talk about those things. But as of late, the thing that's really important is there's inventory out there. But because the market perception is dictated by real estate agents,
right.
We were talking about this earlier. People believe what they believe because of real estate agents. There's a million of them. And if they believe that short sales are gone, therefore they're gone. That's not true. The data dictates that there are 8,000 people. There were 33,000 notice of sales or auctions set from month to month. That's still happening nationally. Okay, these numbers haven't changed. So the goal here at this event, as with all of our events, is number one, for real estate agents, we're going to help you find properties. And if you're a homeowner, I'd tell you to show up at 5 o'clock every day. At the end of the day, we're going to have a bunch of people there. We will be there. You'll be there. We'll network. We'll meet with homeowners if they want to come to that. And we will help you. That's our goal. It's to help.
Super important question. Do I have to wear a suit?
Not even
Oh,
close.
thank you.
Where is
Thank you.
this?
I was so worried.
It's going to be at the Radisson on iDrive, which is now the Allure, but the Radisson signs are still up. And I apologize to everybody who's going to this event. Yes, it's smack dab in the middle of iDrive, and it's going to be there at 5 o'clock, and you're going to be stuck in that traffic. But the value you're going to get out of it is mind-blowing. All you have to do is go to my website, Honish.com, HONISH.com. Right at the top, there's an Eventbrite link. Click on it, put in the offer code Lee Honish, LEEHONISH, and we'll knock 50% off of whatever. So you're going for $50 for 2.5 days.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of Behind the Law with Justin Clark. But if you still have questions, don't wait for next week's show. Just give the offices of Gregory and Clark a call right now at 321-282-1055. They've got the answers you need. And don't forget to tune in next week for our continued discussion on short sales from a perspective of the bank, the interim people, and the law, right here on TV 27.
Thank you for watching Behind the Law with Justin Clark. Be sure to join us again next week as Justin takes you behind the law and answers your legal questions.